this into you sometime tomorrow once I get it uploaded, so you can go back and check it out and take any notes if you'd like to. Let's see here.
That goes up on your Spylo 2 channel?
Yes, it does. So we should
Okay.
be all set. Okay. Well, what got you interested in coaching?
So I've been playing this game for since right after Sigma came out. Like
Mm,
Echo was the first hero that I watched get introduced, and I've just been in love with it since the beginning. I love the characters, the music, the world, the gameplay. There's really nothing like it, and
uh-huh.
I I always play it almost daily. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the highs, the lows. I enjoy keeping up with the community, but like I just can't. I feel like I'm stuck rank wise. I can't progress any. I need an external opinion to see what I'm doing wrong.
Sure. Makes sense. Okay, sounds good. Let me get your form pulled up here really quick here. Okay, really like some personalized outside perspective and insight and gameplay. This is your favorite competitive game and I work on getting better to the point where I can be proud of to show to my friends. Okay. Plat tank, gold DPS, plat support, plat open. Wow, you're quite the journeyman player. Sig, Ram, Echo, Brig on a Moira can be flexible, have a lot of time in most heroes. Okay. So at least 3 matches a day with motivation to complete daily challenges, but usually longer, several hours. Okay. I'm just skimming through here. If anything comes up that you would like to elaborate on, just let me know.
Hmm.
Alrighty here. What are your long-term, short-term goals in Overwatch? My immediate goal is get your support to Diamond using mostly Brig and Ana. I like Brig a lot, was inspired to get it, haha, from Awkward's Unranked to Grandmaster with her. My long-term goal is to get as good as I possibly can using Echo, because I adore the character. I want to get to Masters at least. I want to be able to say, hey, look at my rank and how good I am with Echo. Okay. So you're kind of more of a flex player, but you have some very specific goals within that flexing, right? Like you wanna log on and do your flex queue challenges and just screw around, play some Sigma, play some Ram. But you really would like to get support with Brigana to Diamond, and you would really like to get Echo to Masters long term, correct?
Correct.
Okay, makes sense. All right, what do you feel is holding you back from improving? Sometimes while playing, it feels like my brain can barely keep up. Like I'm just scraping the edge of what I could process and handle as I play. When I feed or die or lose winnable matches, makes me feel dumb, which I'm sure everyone can relate to. Yep, because I know better, like I know the theory behind the flow of matches, mechanics, but I just can't make the progress. It makes me starting to feel like I have a problem with me, or I'm too old, or I have an attention deficit disorder. I feel like I could do better, but I keep fumbling. Okay. I mean, that's the thing with Overwatch, right? Like everybody has those moments. It's just a very, very complex game. And I think I just had a session prior to this one with actually a top 500 tank player. And we talked about how, like, we just had a session not too long ago talking about some of the new details and things that we can improve on. But then going into the match and actually applying that, even at a higher level player, it's actually really, really, really hard. And like you said, there's just feel like you're just on the edge of just being totally overwhelmed. And that's just how it goes. So the what you need to do is, I had this question was asked actually yesterday in another session, and the answer is basically that you need to understand that the game, you're never going to have a full grasp of what's going on in the game at all times. You can only hope to have a better grasp. So what you do is you try to focus on what part of the game is going to be most impactful in my play that I need to get a consistent grasp on. For example, if I'm playing Life Weaver, one of the things that I put a lot of priority on to keep a consistent grasp on is I always try to track my tanks or my DPS's cooldowns. I'm not always going to be ult tracking. I might mess up my heal charge. I might mess up my pedal usage, but I'm going to nail those life grips, right? Because I'm going to know the status of their cooldowns. And so for you as an on a Brig, as an Echo player, whatever else, you need to find that priority, if that makes any sense. What is that thing that maybe I understand, but I'm not giving enough attention? And sometimes that's where like an outside perspective can be helpful, because you might know a lot, but you don't know exactly what you need to be focusing on more, if that makes sense.
Right.
I don't think you're probably. I doubt you're probably. I doubt you're old, too old. I doubt if you did have ADD. It's not necessarily the thing that's going to be stopping you from getting where you want to go. We just need to figure out like what you need to be putting your attention on to. So, 8 hours of sleep per night on average, looking good. Okay. Let's keep going here. So, I guess. Well, first off, any questions so far? I've just kind of been zooming through your form, so I don't want to talk you over anything that's come up.
No, you're doing pretty good. Are you? Um, are you gonna have the video up when you start the replay, or how's that
Yes,
work?
yes.
Okay.
I'll start the stream through the Discord actually, so you should be able to see it just fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I guess my question and what I want to dig into a little bit more is your training schedule, because you seem like the type of person that's going to spend a lot of time playing a lot of different characters, doing the matches per day, maybe doing some quick play. That's generally how I play, right? If I'm going to play, I'm playing casually. But then within that, you want to accomplish a couple of goals. So how does that generally go in terms of quick play, competitive arcade, warm up on an average day, average week?
So like on an average day, it's like quick play 3 matches just to get the daily challenges done, and I count that as my warm up, and then death match like while I'm waiting in queue, and then I'll go to competitive. And I feel like I've been doing a lot of support because I feel like support, like right now, support has a lot of impact. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
good educational material for it, and
Yes.
it's just fun to play. But
Okay.
like I want to start working a lot more heavily on Echo, but I am struggling to just like maintain uptime, uh, impact. I'm
Okay.
struggling to take flanks while the support still have LOS of me,
Right. Of course. Of course. Okay.
stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay. We'll take a look. What I would recommend is I would recommend shifting up your schedule just a little bit, or at least toying with it to see if there's anything that works more effectively. The concern that I have with your warm up right now is I think it might take a little bit too long.
Mm,
So you have 3 quick play games for your flex queue. I think that's fine to do, but I would prefer if you have the capability to do that afterwards. So if you queue in and you're playing support first, try to play just the one death match with the support that you're playing, or just with Echo. And then immediately after you're done 8 to 10 minutes, if you feel relatively warm enough, just jump right into ranked. We want to be as efficient with your time as possible, not just because, faster is better, but because I want you to have more mental energy in reserve for those competitive games that follow.
right. So play casually afterwards instead of
Right.
beforehand.
Exactly. Exactly. Because, playing quick play is going to warm you up. It is going to warm you up. It just might not warm you up efficiently. And I think that's kind of something we want to keep an eye on. Here's what I will say. I never have the audacity to tell you what's going to be best for you. I'm just going to give you some suggestions to try. So try that. If it works, give it a couple, try it for maybe a week, see how it feels. If it works, great. If it doesn't, try something else. But I think that would be something at least worth a shot. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay, and then for Brig Anna, other detail I would make sure with your training is when you're in your quote unquote training mindset, make sure that you're sticking with Brig Anna. I don't think there are many circumstances where a Brig or an Anna will not be available, right? I doubt your other support will constantly lock whatever you want to play.
Right. So I try to stay on Brig until I feel like we're in a situation where I get forced onto Ana, and
Sure,
then I
sure.
I don't I don't go beyond that.
Right. So, like, in other words, if they go like pharmacy Junkrat, right? And you're
Right.
like, what? I literally can't, there's nothing to peel, there's nothing to push. Now, you could be really creative and find a way to make it work. But if you really feel like it's not fun, then you go Ana, and Ana's fine into that, right? So, I don't think there's a circumstance where either Brig or Ana is going to feel terrible. So then you need to learn to kind of focus. And it might not always be the optimal pick, but it will be good enough to where it's going to be more of a skill check than anything else. And that's exactly what you want. Even if you fail miserably, you're going to learn something from that, right? You need to fail miserably at least a few times. So I would stick with Brig Anna, and you can swap around. You can play, and I would try to really focus on just those few characters. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Now, how long you do this is totally up to you. I think for the goals that you're going for, like let's just say diamond on support, you could probably get away with only 3 or 4 games a day on support. Maybe even fewer if you were more efficient, like super focused, super efficient. But I would just say 3 to 4 for right now. You could maybe get away with just like an hour of ranked play on Brigana. And if you're really focused, have specific things to practice on, and you have a good 5-10 minute warm up before that, it's doable. Might not be the best for you, but it can work. Now, what that does mean though is on days where you play longer, you could play for an hour, you could play for an hour and a half. Heck, you could even go like grind mode and play for 2 hours straight of Brigana with short breaks in between. And then whatever you do with the rest of the day, that's on you. It doesn't really matter. You could go play some Echo. You can, go play get your 3 wins in quick play. You could play, arcade. It's just totally fun, right? I think training time should be fun, but it should just be fun with a little bit of extra emphasis, if that makes sense. And then after that, you could just turn your brain off and do whatever you want.
One thing that happens to me is I get that new rank up system, the 5 wins, like 20 losses or whatever. I get stuck on that. Like I'll be at 4 wins, and it's just like the gambling thing. Like you got to keep
Yep.
going.
Yep. And that's something that you got to watch out for. Let me put it this way. I had a tendency to where I would stay up way too late working or playing with friends on Overwatch back in the day. And I just was terrible. I would stay up to like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., sometimes even. And so what I realized is that like, I'm gonna do that occasionally. But what I'm not gonna do is at a certain point, I'm gonna draw the line in the sand. I'm not gonna stay up past 3 a.m. If I stay up late, it's fine, but not past 3 a.m. And what I've done is I've mostly stuck with that rule with a few exceptions for like the last couple of years. So what you and actually I've gotten tighter and tighter and tighter to where I basically am never staying up past midnight almost ever. But that took time to develop. So I think if you look at like that 5-win thing, now that may or may not be changing as well. Keep in mind that there's definitely been some hubbub behind the scenes.
Right.
But what I would do is I would be like, I know I'm going to be that guy that's going to try for that 5th win, but I'm going to try and do a better job pulling the plug a little bit early before I get too tired or too frustrated or too tilted. If that makes sense.
Yeah, knowing your limit. Yeah.
Yeah. Just do better than don't do better than you did last time. And occasionally you're going to slip. It's fine. Reset, do it again. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to be the guy to say you should never, ever try for that 5th win. If you feel like it's doable, it's great. But try to avoid the worst case scenario. Always try to do a little bit better than that than the last time. Mm-hmm. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So then I think trying to put a little bit of a priority on, whatever you're trying to rank up, whatever you're trying to give your most focus on earlier on. And then from there, doing whatever you want, having a little bit more of a focused warm up. And now keep in mind that all these things that we're talking about with On a Brig, that applies to Echo too. So this isn't just, 3 to 4 games. If you want to get your Echo to Masters, this kind of strategy is going to be the exact same thing. And how you want to apply that, whether that's 3 or 4 games, 4 or 5 games, whether that's one death match, or you want to do a quick play in a death match, or you want to do 2 death matches, or you just go into that Vaxta custom game and just roll. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But that's the general idea of what you want to be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I have that custom game code.
Great. Okay. Do you have any questions so far?
No, not yet. I'm gonna try to write them down as I get them.
Okay, sounds good. I don't have anything else for you for training schedule. That's the general skeleton, how you want to approach that and touch with the nuances of maybe more deathmatch, less deathmatch, more ranked games, fewer ranked games. Obviously, it might depend on your schedule, how much sleep that you get, or whether you're trying to get better at Ana, Brig, Echo, whatever. It's up to you, but that's the general idea of how you want to approach practice.
Does that prioritize the short term with Brig Ana first? And
yes. If that's your priority, right? Maybe it's Echo, whatever your character is, that's the priority. That one gets a little bit more attention.
Yeah, I feel like whatever learning I do on those two, like the game sense will carry over to
sure.
DPS as well.
Sure. And what I might recommend is if you're like, I really want to kind of get back on the Echo grind a little bit. Now, I'm not saying don't play Echo, just that on a Brig, get your playtime first. They get your maximum mental energy, right?
Right.
What that might mean, though, is you do a week and a half, 2 weeks, 5 days of on a Brig, and then you shift things up, and then Echo gets the priority for the first 3 or 4 games of the day instead. Does you see what I'm saying? And as long as you give yourself about a week to where you're not just like switching it every day, but giving yourself about a week to where you're actually practicing and you get to consistently practice like some of the things over and over and over again. And then when you made a little bit of progress, maybe your rank hasn't gone up, but you feel like I understand I'm able to apply these things better, then you move on to the other character. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions with any of that training schedule, structure, or anything like that?
No, all good so far.
Okay, sounds good. So I don't really have any other questions from your form. Is there any other questions you had just general before we look at your gameplay?
No.
Okay. All right. Do you want to send me the code? I got to go grab something. Give me 1 second. Just drop the code. I see you dropped an Echo code. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I couldn't get a decent Brig match in.
That's fine. We'll look at Echo. Give me 1 second. Okay, apologies for that. So we'll take a look at this echo here. Okay, I'm gonna share through Discord here. Let me know if you can see that all right.
Yep, I can see it fine. This match is one where I truly felt like I did the best I could, and we lost.
Okay. I mean, that's gonna be the case a lot of the time, right? Like where your impact's gonna be massive. So one thing I want you to try to not remove, but practice playing down is what could I have done to win the match? It's a flawed question. Because the answer might either be literally the greatest echo in the history of the universe playing perfectly, could not have won this match, right? Probably not at your rank, I think. But eventually you will get to a rank where, like, you know, even the greatest players in the world will go smurfing in like high diamond, low masters and occasionally win games or lose games, right? Occasionally. So that's a flawed question in of itself. And the other flawed question is that even if you do win, you shouldn't get complacent with that win. You should always be striving for improvement, right? Whether it's a win or a loss. And what that does is it, first off, it keeps things neutral, where you don't get too beat up after a loss, you don't get too overinflated after a win. And whether you won or you lost, there's always something that you can be doing better, right? You don't care about the win or the loss here. There's always something you can be doing better. So don't think about what would have won this match. Think about what are some habits, bad habits, some good things, and some things to tweak that you can learn from this match that'll apply to other games. Does that make sense?
Yes. So even on wins, you still want to be critical of yourself?
Critical in terms of like finding what you could have been doing better, but also, you know, hey, I did good. Like even in bad, like in losses, for example, what did you do well in the loss? What did you not do so well in the win? What did you do well? What did you not do so well? I think that's the best way of looking at it. Like you're not coaching this team here. Like you're not trying to construct a championship winner, right? Just it's bad luck and good luck. The vast majority of your games are going to be decided by your teammates, not yourself. But the reason why we focus on yourself is because that's the only factor that you can control. And over the course of 100, 200 games, you will be able to shape your destiny.
Yeah, you're the same player in each of those games.
Exactly. So be the guy that's going to increase the odds of you winning the game by 5% because you're that much better than you were last game. So it's like, you know, the other thing too is like if you think about like what might have won this game, might be you switch to Torb. But do you want to play Torb? You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
You know. And the thing is even the swap game like bottoms out. A lot of people who play that swap game, they play the swap game, but they never really get good at the hero. So then they kind of get stuck in a rank because they've never really gotten good at any hero. They've just played the swap game. They've gotten good at the swap game, but they're not actually good at the game. So it's like, you know, it's a whole nother can of worms. So just play the game, find what you need to do better, and focus on that. Okay. One of the things you might have heard me talk about. Now, have you seen some of my other Echo reviews before?
I browsed them, but like I didn't feel like they
Sure.
were personalized enough to
Yeah,
me.
fair point. So one of the things that I talk about with Echo frequently is the nuance between you're a spam hero, but you're also a short range character as well, right? You can hit stickies and beam, and stuff dies really fast in point blank range, right? But then you shoot, and you throw stickies, and that can also poke people out. Look at their composition. If you were to 1v1 a Genji, would there be really any motivation to get like on top of the Genji or the Orisa?
Probably not to like land on them.
Right. Maybe medium range, but it's a little bit spooky, right? Same thing with the Lucio, right? I mean, I can get close to him. He's not that scary, but there's no real reason. Now, a Life Weaver or a Soldier, do I really want to be shooting at them from a million miles away, especially a Soldier?
No, because they're thinner and they can strafe pretty easily.
Right. And they've got that hit scan thing. Maybe not Life Weaver, but Soldier. Like, let's say they had a Widowmaker. Let's say they had an Ashe. Let's say they had a Zenyatta. Those are characters that all of a sudden, you're almost like a Reaper to them. You're terrifying in close ranges, right? You land those stickies and beam, they just die instantly. There's nothing they can do. But if you're playing versus a Reaper or a Trade, I mean, look at your composition, right? Moira, Reaper, Ball. Those are heroes that you can spam really easily. So what you need to try and do is you need to be thinking about the matchup that you're playing a little bit and think, do I want to get close to these guys? Do I want to keep the distance? Or maybe it's a little bit of both. So looking at their composition, I like this as long as it's quick, because what would happen if you just stayed here and flew in the air versus this composition for too long?
The Soldier would start looking at me.
Soldier would laser you down. Soldier would laser you down. Now that is a lot of dopamine.
Yep.
That's awesome. It's fine. Chase him around a little bit. Sorry. He's out, so it's not a problem. Well, this is something. As long as there's nothing else that you could be doing elsewhere, I mean, I get it. That's all right.
I tried to split my attention.
Yeah, yeah. You see how like that damage you're doing there is kind of annoying to him, right? I just gotta go grab that health back, right? And
Yeah, I wanted to let him know, like, I'm watching you.
Right.
Yep.
Now, right? Now, oh, you don't shoot into deflect, you moron. What's wrong with you? Well, yes and no. Why is this so? Why did you die here? At what range were you playing here? I mean, you didn't even have time to react, right?
Right.
Why?
I acted before I thought. Maybe?
Look how close you are to this guy.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's the major problem here. I don't want to shift into a Genji. I promise you, the world's best Echo player versus some random Grandmaster Genji, right? Masters Genji would not want to shift into this range versus a Genji. It's scary. Deflect is scary. Dash is scary. Right click will, if he hits at you in the head, basically take your entire HP at this range. He's a kind of a shotgun hero in a way, right? So the only reason I would want to fly up in here is if the Genji was like 1 HP maybe, and I could just beam him down, right? But this is crazy. This is almost the equivalent of flying into a Reaper, almost. So you're gonna die. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I underestimated him, and I don't know like what his close range damage is like.
Exactly. So it's not complicated. You're playing a hero with some spam and some brawl. You played into the brawl versus a character that's just better at it you in the brawl, and so you lost. That's it. Besides that, not too bad. That's fine. I mean, you're not going to get punished for it likely, so a little bit of ult charge. It's funny how much easier this 1v1 is when you can pew-pew a little bit, right? I mean, to be fair, he didn't see you, but that's all right. And then all of a sudden, you see the problem here, right? It's terrifying. Now you've got a soldier looking at you. Can you see that?
Right, and there's no cover.
No cover, right? So then now you're poking, and then soldier shows up. Now it's not the end of the world because what do you got in your back pocket? That ultimate, right? Mm-hmm. So I would just copy, yeah.
That's one thing I picked up from Awkward is you could be more aggressive while you have duplicate.
The problem is that you weren't able to get to cover with the duplicate. You weren't able to get to cover after the duplicate, and so you die as a result. Right. Now let's not just sit here and feel bad about ourselves, all right? You know that soldier's on the battlefield somewhere. So where could you be right now? I don't think there's a really obvious option here. I think this is tricky, but where could you be?
Further to the left on that high ground, like to the
like
top
here?
middle.
Like here?
Left
or
side,
here?
Yeah, like over there.
Sure. Now the fight's happening over here, at least to an extent, which seems why you're gravitating this direction.
Right.
I'm going to give you a really simple answer. I don't think you need to worry about whether I should be here or here or here. It's complicated, right? There's like a trillion places you could be. Here, if you want to fly in the air, just hug the wall a little bit. That's it. Because look at this. If this soldier pops out and you're hugging the wall, he doesn't even see you. And if he does, if you drop down here and use cover, for him to pursue you, he would have to jump off the high ground in the middle of your team. And you would copy soldier, and then you would kill him. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when you talk about Echo here, instead of just thinking about what's the perfect position, because that can be a little bit hard, just have cover, even when you're flying in the sky. If you want to spam down here on the choke on first point, that's fine. Just don't play here, play here. Or play here. You got me? Just a small adjustment. Just a small adjustment.
I think you'll see me doing that a little bit better later.
Okay.
I try to be conscious of my aerial cover.
Good. Because it might be something that you do but you don't do consistently enough, right? And those are always the trickiest things. Okay. Now, this is really tricky. I want you to look at your screen right now. You see Moira, or Ana, excuse me, who's looking the wrong direction. Orisa, Lucio, right? Do you need to drop into here?
No.
Where could you
I think
stay?
that was me being greedy because I had all my cooldowns.
Right. Where could you stay?
I probably could have just stayed on that whole platform. There was 2 openings to poke out from there. There's
And do you
2
notice
doorways.
that the soldier can't see you from here?
Right.
Perfect cover versus the hero that outpokes you. So just play on the... I like the angle. Just hold the angle. Because you get greedy, they go ult, and you're like, oh, snap. And then that's it, right? Now, could you guys have won this fight? I don't know. They did a good job with their blade, the nano blade, the bead. I mean, I think maybe this fight's just pretty much lost. But remember, it kind of goes back to the initial question. Are we really interested in what's going to win us this game or this fight? Not really. I want to know what bad habits are showing up, whether they get punished or whether they don't. If you play here, I think you still lose this fight, right? But it would have made more sense. And I think that's what we kind of want to look for. You have any questions so far?
No, not yet.
All right. A little poke here. As long as you don't have to poke soldier, it's okay. Now, can you think of another position to hold, to do damage, besides the one that you're at right now? I don't think this position is too bad, but I wonder if there's other spots as well.
I'm thinking like the top right to push up above that platform that's above them, and I think that's what I'm gonna do.
What's the only problem about a position like this?
I'll be stuck again with the Genji, who's pretty easily able to get back up there.
Okay, so give me another option then. It's not a bad one. Like, let's say they're on snipers, right? You sneak up on the snipers, you dive bomb them, right? Give me another option.
Bottom left, there's a lot of cover and openings to play around.
Might have to peek the soldier a little bit, maybe here if you could play cover, right? Something like that, maybe.
Yeah,
or here,
right there,
if you play cover. At least versus the soldier, it's like a little bit closer. You know, there isn't really a great option here, right? But what I want you to do is I want you to start practicing the skill of asking yourself that question. Is there anywhere else I could try? Go try it. If it fails miserably, learn from it, go next. If it works, great. Learn from it, go next. Your ball's in. I want you to be walking forward and shooting. But do you see now how your shoot going in? What's the problem about going in now? Who just left?
Like the whole team is looking forward.
Right. Why? Where's your ball? You see this?
He's right in front of him.
Watch this.
Like all their attention's on him.
Let's go to your position when your ball's on the way out. Check this out. And then let's free cam this. And then let's skip back to where your ball was in. Watch this. Do you see how much better this would have felt? With just a little bit more distraction. Just a little bit more distraction. Play the cover, play the cover, play the cover. Good. Now, you're chasing him because he doesn't have his deflect, right?
Right.
Totally fine. Smart play. Careful. Haha, you see it? You're good. Now, this feels a little bit messy, but what do you think about your contributions to the fight here?
It's like inconsistent.
Okay. What can the honor soldier poke you out right here?
No, they're a little far away.
Right. So how much damage can you do to a tank when you're just spamming the tank?
She's the only thing right in front of me, and I have all my cooldowns a
Right.
lot.
I mean, look at this, right? She's getting toasted, right? And what can the honest soldier do about it? Not a lot, right? Not a lot. Well, that's weird. A little bit of a weird bug there. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you see how, like, as simultaneously, sometimes you can get close, sometimes you can poke. This time, you're poking and you're getting a lot of value. Let's see what you got. I like the playing more aggressive with the ultimate here. I'm not going to coach your Orisa. Let it roll. See what happens. Good, though. You won the fight. A little bit of spam. Now you know that Genji's coming for you, right? At some point, maybe. Oh, nope, your ball's in. Do you see how much poke damage you do?
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It's as long as that soldier or Ana are not poking you out, it is actually unreal. Look at this damage. Look at this. Listen, I mean, the dopamine is crazy. Clickety, clickety, clang, click, 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 click. Oh my goodness, you're forcing Fortify literally by yourself. But you notice as soon as that soldier turns his attention on you at this range, look what happens, right?
Yeah, I could just be dead instantly.
Dead instantly. You got to be super careful. Now, here's a question. Why didn't you die instantly? How did you survive?
I had the cover right
You
there.
had
And
brilliant
I started pulling
cover,
back when he was
right?
shooting.
Right. Now, I probably would not have greeted for the beam there, even when she was low. When she's fortified, even with beam, it's hard to finish her off, right? But really nice positioning here. Really nice positioning here. Good use of cover. You use your spam angle. You played off of your ball timing, right? Your ball goes in. You're able to play around it. You're able to play around it. You're able to play around it, so it like works out, right? So I think like right now, this is good. And you're going to win the fight off of that. Feels like cheating. Just sitting here. Uh-oh. They went Iliari. Woo! Now, again, let's talk about this, right? What is this character good at?
Poke damage and like stationary healing.
Right, poke damage, right? That's the key thing. Whenever you hear the word poke damage, your inner Mike Tyson should be frothing at the mouth here. I want to get up and hit him in the mouth, right? Your character can poke Iliari, but doesn't. It's scary too because she's a hit scan, right? She's got pretty decent range. So guess what? She gets run over, right? She doesn't have an answer to your stickies or your beam or just flat out your essentially the shotgun that you got in your hand, you know? And so look what happens, right? Nice shots. And that's it, right? It's that simple. Now, if that had been a Genji, how would this go? A little bit scarier,
Like
right?
that first fight with the deflect.
Right. If this had been a Brig, you know, depends on if she's got shield or not, but maybe a little bit scary, right? You know, Moira, I don't know. I think she just fades this and sucks you down, right? But as Zenyatta, Iliari, anything like that, this works. Nice job. See, even a soldier has to respect you when you get that close. I really like this positioning. You're doing a good job. Now, they're going to adjust. They're going to find some way to get rid of you. They're shrieking at each other in voice chat. I can hear it. You know, we got to get the Echo off of Pi. She's just living forever, right? Nice stickies. Good use of cover. Look at that. So, again, a lot. It feels weird because you're like, look at this. You're like, well, I didn't get any kills. But let's see what you did, right? All the stickies. That's going to force her back. Orisa's half HP. Forces early pylon. Then everyone's focusing on helping the Orisa, who's still low, by the way. So there's her fortify. So she fortifies before the fight even starts. And then you're going to land stickies on her now, maybe? Oh, no, not even. Ooh, scary. They had to use visor just to get out of spawn. Poor guys. And you kill her off. So the stickies that you hit 12 seconds ago finally results in a kill. Nice job. And I can tell you're going more aggressive because of the copy, right? You see this? She cannot get close to you. You just murder her. Now, if I sound like a broken record, there's a reason for that. Because I think that obviously, as complicated as Overwatch is, there's a lot of details and a lot of nuance with how you use your cooldowns and how you take 1v1s and positioning. But if we can simplify it down to the most important thing for you to be working on right now and allow you to just practice and focus on that, then I think you're going to be able to make progress without feeling quite as overwhelmed as you might normally. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the game is so complicated. Like I
It
try to
really
get friends
is.
into it, and it's just it's hard for them to. There's 30 something heroes now, and you got to
Oh, yeah.
learn what a lot of them do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's hard for beginners.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say here. You're doing a good job with cover. You're doing a good job poking versus the brawl heroes and getting up close to the characters like Iliari and murdering them. Cooldown cycling has been okay. The ult looks okay here. Again, trying to play more aggressively because you have the ultimate. And you're like, oh shoot, I'm getting bladed. Love to see it. I mean, I think it's okay. They just nano blade. That's it. It happens. And honestly, I'm surprised that your Hanzo even died because I feel like he was blading you. I'm curious where your Hanzo was. Oh, we still had his dash. So that was cute. Check that out. You just like completely juke him. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so far so good. Any questions?
No, I think by the end of this, I just want to learn how to be consistent and to play like this all the time because I feel like I have like really high ups and really low lows playing Echo.
Okay. Let's talk about that a little bit. Is there any particular circumstances or maps or matchups that you feel that you struggle versus? Or is there any particular circumstance that you think causes that inconsistency? Or is it just like you don't really know?
It could be a couple things. It could be my mood. It could be like my energy levels. It could be if I'm playing a match into 2 hit scan, like a soldier and an Ash, I
Sure.
struggle to find an angle. It could be sometimes I get supports and I have a hard time having them have their field of view on me so they can heal me while I'm trying to do work.
Right. But do you see how like each one of those circumstances that you just described to me is something that you can, if you can't exactly control it, it's something that you can improve. Your mood, your ability to control regulate your emotions, the amount of sleep that you get, the way that you deal with the stress, or that's something that you can improve. It's not something you can fix. Nobody's perfect, but it's something you can improve. Your play into double hit scan, understanding that matchup better, positioning better on that matchup. You can get better at that, can't you? To where that's less of a problem. You see what I'm saying? Playing with supports, being aware of your supports positioning is a very important skill. That's something that you can improve. So when you talk about inconsistency, you then just named 3 or 4 different things that you can just improve at. So the problem may not be inconsistency, this vague, ghostly apparition that you don't know where it is or where it goes. It just fades away. Well, what about it is the inconsistency? Oh, I just need to be, I'm just bad versus double hit scan. I go Echo, sometimes they go double hit scan, and I feel terrible. That's your inconsistency. Or I'm in a really bad mood, and I'm trying to force that 5th win, right? We talked about, that there's your inconsistency. I didn't sleep that well the other night. There's your inconsistency. Or I don't know how to position on this map. I just have no idea where to go. There's your inconsistency, right? So when you have, it's the same thing we talked about earlier when you're trying to find out like how I'm struggling, I'm getting overwhelmed. Okay, then pick what's causing this and work at it. Work at it in isolation. Like right now, you could look at this game and die to the Genji on first point and been like, yeah, I really struggle versus Genjis. Okay. Well, what was the problem? At least on first point versus the Genji.
I didn't know Genji that well, and I dove into him blind.
Right. Just walking into the Genji. Oh, I really struggle with Soldier. I remember you died at the Soldier, right? What was the problem?
I didn't hug the cover.
You didn't hug the cover. That's it. That's all it really is. If I'm coaching this Iliari and she's asking me like, how do I play versus Echoes, man? They're just like destroying me like everything. What is this? What was the Iliari's mistake, right? What does she need to practice?
Maintaining distance.
Right. You're a poke hero.
The poke damage up.
Right. Exactly. So you kind of see what I'm saying here. So is there going to be emotional, hormonal stress and, just environment, not getting enough sleep, had a bad day? That obviously happens. And that's the hardest one to regulate, right? But everything else, especially, that's stuff that you can look at. So instead of being, I've learned that whenever I feel like I'm just not playing that well, I just need to find out what is not going well, what needs to be improved at. I think even if and the thing is like you could be thinking about these things too and be like, okay, I'm really thinking about my position, but I keep messing it up. That's okay. It happens. Just keep practicing, right? Keep practicing. The goal is to build the skills to where you can do some of these things automatically, right? So like right now, you fed, you died.
Yeah, I was going for that like don't shoot the horse mentality.
I think it's smart. I think it's smart. I think it was reasonable. She's fortified, right? Like, or she was about to be. She had fortified. She could have fortified. I think going for the Orisa here would have been fine to force the fortify, but I think it's okay. So let's nitpick it. Why did you die here? Why did you die here? What should you have done differently? What should you have done better?
I left the high ground, and as soon as I landed, basically the Orisa turns around and I'm right in her
Sure.
face. And
Where's your?
kill me.
You use your stickies and miss them. Do you have your beam right now? No.
Not yet.
Do you have high ground or cover? No.
No.
Do you have your copy? No.
No.
Do you have somebody else helping you kill the Ana right now? No. Do you have your shift? So you're feeding with your positioning, but you're just going to shift out, right? No. So what's the problem here? Do you have any of the tools that you need to go this aggressive?
No.
No, that's it. So what's the skill that you needed to do better here?
Restraint?
Restraint. Restraint around what, though? Let's just
Around
pick something. Around your cooldowns, sure. It could be around cover, or it could be around cooldowns, whatever you want to practice that day. You could say, well, I'm really trying to practice my cover, so this was bad cover usage. Yes, nice job. Or you could say, well, I'm trying to play around my aggression around whether I have my get out of jail free card, right? Yes, that's also true. I don't care what way you look at it. This one sucks both directions, right? That's the problem. So what should you have done instead if you paid attention to your positioning and if you paid attention to your cooldowns?
I think if I were to do this again, I would stay up here like another second or two and watch my
Sure.
cooldowns. Wait for at least one more of them to light up
Sure.
before I dive on her.
Sure, works for me. We'll dive, and you could honestly, you're like talking about like not shooting the horse. You could shoot horse here, or you could just poke out the Ana and try and play cover. She shoots you back, you try and hide, shoot her again, hide. You know, it's not great for your character, but it's better than diving in with zero reason to be able to finish her off, right? So that's it.
I panic because I know that she can 3-tap me, but like I don't know why I expect her to do that.
Well, she might be able to, but you also remember if you position well, she won't be able to 3-tap you because if she's going to 2-tap you, and then what are you going to do? You're going to hide, right? So you're like, well, I'm losing the poke trade, so now I'm going to give up. See, that's why cover is so powerful, is because cover is what allows you to quit whenever you start to lose. You see what I'm saying? You could play the game and go, oh, I'm losing this game. I don't want to play anymore. Like that, that 8-year-old we all had in our, at school as a kid. We hate it. I was like, oh, they don't want to play as soon as they start to lose, right? That could be you. You shoot. The Ana starts shooting you back. You're like, oh, I don't want to play anymore, Ana. Right? Or you could be smart with it and only play when you have your full cooldowns. That's the other cheap thing that you could do. Well, I'm only going to fight you when I have everything. You got to fight dirty a little bit, right? Don't play fair. Now, again, you're inting here, but do you think you have a good reasoning for it, and do you have your cooldowns-ish? You see it?
Yeah.
He's low. You have beam, so you have a good reason to get up and close. So is there a risk out of what you're doing right now? 100%. But is the reward reasonable? I think so. What do you think?
Yeah, like I feel like my health was high enough to try to finish them off quickly.
I think so too. And you had the beam to actually finish them off, which before you didn't. Remember? You didn't have that. Okay, so what are you seeing so far as being some skills that you can practice or some general things that you could be thinking about in your game so far? We talked about a lot of stuff, but what are some things that are standing out to you?
Knowing when I cannot take a Genji, managing my cooldowns a little bit better, waiting until they're off to dive, and playing around aerial cover better, especially when there's a hit scan character.
Right. Knowing the range of your character versus the matchups, playing on aerial cover, and playing around your cooldowns as when you can go aggressively and when you can't.
Now about the cooldowns, there's one thing though, like if I'm sitting there waiting for my cooldowns, I get sort of worried that I'm having downtime and like I'm not helping in a fight. Like I get scared that all my cooldowns are going to be recharging while the fight's breaking out.
Fair point.
And then I feel like I'm forced into action sometimes.
This is why Echo is so powerful, though, because your inaction is still a lot of value. For example, we could describe this right now, you passively poking at the Orisa. Okay, you ready? I'm going to give you the worst case scenario. You get shot by Ana and you have to fall to the cart, and you start shooting the Orisa like this, right? Do you do any meaningful pressure shooting the Orisa like this?
Like a decent amount.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? We've seen it already, right? Where you were just sitting there shooting at the Orisa and her HP was going away very fast, right? So
Right.
obviously, it's, standing there in front of the tank line and shooting the tank isn't like the best thing that you can be doing all the time, but it's totally fine filler. I mean, think about it this way. If I'm playing Tracer and I don't have my blinks and recall and I'm on a flank, what can I do? Nothing, right? There's nothing I can do. I just have to stand there. I can't poke, I can't peek, I can't shoot tank. Dude, Echo, you just standing here is still more value than half the DPS cast, right? Just stand there and shoot the tank, right? And then when you get the cooldowns back, you take an angle, you take cover, you take positioning, and you play around those cooldowns. Does that make sense?
So find a safe place to keep spamming while I'm waiting.
Sure. So if you're waiting for cool, I mean, if you're like literally in their flank over here and you got to wait for your cooldowns, I get it, right? But then that's because you're going for a big knockout punch. But if you're on a high ground angle and you're like, oh, I can't really go for this, I need to just simply shooting tank or distracting backline. It's okay. You're really not bad at that. That's, like I said, that's one of the strengths of Echo, is that dynamic, is that you can do a little bit of both. So let's take a look at that though for this fight. Oh,
this was unfortunate because I heard him outside.
What?
I came out the door and I knew he was here, and I was looking for
What a rat. That scared the crud out of me. I had no idea he was there. All right. What an idiot. Okay. Well, I mean, you get a couple of shots in first, he just dies. Now, this is great. This is great. Do you have a crazy, like, off angle, any sort of shenanigans here?
Not an off angle, but I'm thinking like I just drop behind that wall if I start getting shot.
Sure. So you need to obviously play cover, right? So you're kind of there. But this is where like you can also just shoot diva, and then take an angle. This is where like you don't have like your mobility yet, you don't have your beam yet, but just shooting tank is not the end of the world here. You're still doing decent pressure. Now, think next step. You see this pressure is not bad, right? This isn't bad. You're still doing damage. You see that? You see that? You see it? You're doing nothing right now, in quotation marks, but you are doing something. You see that? Okay. Where do you go from here?
Up against the left building, and then start using my cooldowns, like at the top of my flight. Try to force them to look up.
She's scary, isn't she?
A little bit.
That's not a bad idea, though, right? Go in maybe with your tank, hug the wall. Works for me. Give me another option.
I could take a wide right angle, and then I would meet up with that Ana. I'm not sure if I knew she was there or not.
Okay. So you would either take here and spam and shoot. You take here and spam and shoot. You could also go through here. Yeah. You need to do so to get close to who? To whom?
The Kiriko or the soldier.
Or the soldier, right? You're not bad versus those guys up close. We talked about that earlier. So let's just see what happens. I think we got a lot of options here. Hey, look at that. What's the only problem with what you're doing? This is a Spylo classic. It's the only problem with what you're doing.
I think I swung out too far, maybe?
To an extent, yes. That's a micro detail. Who is tanking right now? Who is taking the enemy's attention so that your team can walk forward?
Nobody. So when they look at me, I'm not really helping.
Yeah, that's the twist.
Distract.
You're the tank, actually, here.
Right, okay.
You're the tank here. So that means that your ball is going to get in a lot easier, which your ball is like, okay, thank you, but I'm actually built for that. You're not. Get out of there, please. Let me do my job, right? Because you can think about this and be like, oh, man, I could kill these guys if they're distracted, right? But they're not distracted. They're focusing on you. So you're going to back up from a pretty reasonable angle, and then now your ball is going to go in. Now, he might actually kill the soldier, right? You might actually kill the soldier here. But imagine if you could have been capitalizing off of this chaos instead of the vice versa. That's just a good rule to generally follow. Now, that being said, Oh no, I'm forced off the angle. I don't have my cooldowns, right? So you have to run away, right? So now you're useless, right? Because your Echo is terrible at shooting tanks, right? And look at that, look at that, look at that. Just terrible, just absolutely terrible. And look at that. If you'd manage your beam there, I actually think the D.Va dies. I'm being sarcastic. I mean, that was a ridiculous amount of tank damage. Look at this. She's got armor. And you beamed too early, and you still got her to under half HP, right? It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So you might look at that and be like, oh, I'm not doing anything. You just did a lot right there. If you'd timed it with the ball, it would have been even better, but, you know, not bad. All right, let's, you see that Ana, you're gonna go for her, aren't you? See, what's the problem with this, though? It's not the play itself is bad.
No cooldowns.
No cooldowns, right? So I'm honestly concerned. Now, so what should you do in the meantime? So you talk about downtime. This is real downtime, right? So what could you be doing while you're waiting for those cooldowns to come back?
I think poking around the left until they light back up and then going back to what I was thinking about doing with the Ana.
Yeah. Do you see this reasonable value here? Aim at head height, smash that D.Va, even poke that soldier from cover. Do you see this? It's right there. Take it. Take it, take it, take it, take it. Totally there. See, that's the problem, is this a bad play? Objectively, no. You even do a good job hitting your shots. You actually out-mechanic her, and she still might die. You just did it a little too early, because I think if you did this a little bit later, I think she's already dead. What do you think?
I think if she was like a rank higher, she would have just slapped me and ran me over.
I agree, but I also think, but think about it from your perspective as well. If she's a rank higher, she punishes you. If you wait 2 seconds longer here, I think she's dead right now. I think she's dead, right? Because you would have already had your stickies out, your beam would have been done, and she's cooked. So you got a little bit lucky, but if you played a little bit better, I think she would have already been dead. I mean, this is pretty cool here, right? Is this risky? Yes. But you have your shift. Your supports can see you. I like it. It's cool. Maybe your supports can see you. Maybe. Maybe. Seems okay.
Tried to like show myself in the window so she
Yeah,
could shoot.
yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate.
That mech on her.
Yeah, you did get her. You got her. Check it out. I don't know if you noticed that, but you got her. It doesn't show up in the kill feed, but watch. Bam.
Oh no, I didn't see it in the kill feed. That's why.
Yeah. It's because you left it, so it kind of bugs out. But yeah, you got her. Nice stickies.
That was bad.
Well, why is this bad? Let's talk about this, because again, it's the same kind of thing, right?
Right.
Just wait. I mean, it's not just the fact that you're tanking here, but if you waited legit, oh, it's like this. That's so unfortunate, you know? So unfortunate. You're this close to greatness. This close. You're on it, pockets you out. That's huge. Woo! Okay, let's go. This D.Va really does not like using her stickies. So here's what I'm seeing this fight, or this VOD so far. I'm starting to see what you're saying about, like, I can't do anything more, right? Because it feels like you are just dumping buckets of damage over and over and over again into the enemy team. There's a couple of reasons why this might be the case. Number one, you might have been the highest ranked player in the lobby. What rank are you right now on Echo?
I gold. Like I fluctuate between gold and black.
So this could have been like a gold 5 lobby, where they put the gold 1 player in there, and there's the gold 1 player on the enemy team is like, I don't know, the Ana, the Kiriko, something like that. And then you guys are teamed up with gold 5s. You're expected to do a little bit more than your teammates, right? But you didn't perform quite as well as you could have. The more likely answer is just that the enemy team got lucky, or your team played a little bit poorly. That's it. But you see that even though this is like still going, feels like, oh, I'm doing so much damage, there's still so many things that you could have been doing better. So many things. That's what you need to put focus on. Because you could look at this and be like, I played better than my teammates, I think almost objectively. I think I just played better the entire game. But that's not enough to win all the time. So who cares about the win? find what you need to do better, period. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then here, it's just a simple question of, like, why is this a mistake? Now, this fight's lost. Let me be very clear. But if you're gonna, if you have no cooldowns, if you have no shift, you can't press W in. It'll never work. Okay. Nice. Doesn't feel good, but look at this amount of, look at the enemy team's positioning now, right? Just off of Big Sticky's big beam. There's TP. Again, do you notice how that you're not really on an angle here, but your tank damage is still very high?
Yeah, I was sort of trying to wrap to the right, like, as the fight was going on.
Good stickies. Forces Diva. Or forces Nano, excuse me. On Nano.
There's a lot of cooldowns on her.
Yeah, I sure did. The only thing I will say here is that you do a great job so far, but now your brain turns off. What should you be shooting right now?
I don't even think I knew he was back there. Yeah.
I mean, heck, you even have coffee. You could even just go in here aggressively, right? It's a Nano Diva. You know, you shoot the tank when you don't have the opportunity to shoot other things, but you have copy, you have your stickies, you have your cooldowns, and we're still shooting tank. Like, their Diva's literally just being a meat shield. She's just standing there and taking your attention, and then by the time you use copy, even it's already a lost fight. So this is not a good ultimate. All right, last fight. I think you're going to kill 6, and the card is just going to appear at the end of the game. It's going to be a record push. You're going to win this one, I'm sure of it. All right, wait for your ball. Wait for your ball. When your ball is in, I want you to go. Ooh, good. You need to end and cover, though. Was it worth it? Maybe, maybe not. At least that one, it felt like you ented, but you were like sure you were going to get the kill. Okay, let's stop there.
I think I was panicking.
Yeah. No, I think so too, which is why we're not going to worry too much about it. It happens. What are specific things that you need to practice on with your Echo? Specific skills, regardless of how well that game went from a stat perspective. What did you not do well? Well, actually, let's start with this. What are some things that you did well? What are some good things that you do?
I think I did well on timing my aggression when I was holding my ultimate.
Timing aggression with ult was good. Second life mindset definitely paying off, right? Loved it. I actually think your mechanics were pretty decent. I think
sometimes where I'll try to dive like a Zen and they won't even turn around to look at me, and I'll land behind them and I'll miss all the stickies, and like that's the worst.
So you just got to relax with it a little bit. I think one of the big things with stickies is just chilling out a little bit, right? Because I think when it came down to it, especially with your mouse one clicking and shooting, you actually hit a lot of nice shots. I think you hit a lot of nice shots. At least they were better than gold, right? I think. Anything else that you saw?
Like, I feel like I'm good at using the cooldowns consistently as they're ready, but not timing aggression with them like when I need them.
Using cooldowns when available. I would also say sometimes thinking about off angles, right? So you've got a nice little set of skills that I think you're pretty decent at. But what do you need to improve? What do you need to practice?
Okay, so hero matchups, like against Genji, because I just wasn't aware of how much close range burst damage he had, and against hit scan characters and respecting them by playing closer to cover.
Okay. What else?
Leaving high ground and getting greedy when there's something actually still helpful I can do by staying up there. Well,
when was that a mistake? When was leaving and pushing in aggressively a mistake? Happened a couple of times.
When they were going for point 3 and I was on that high ground facing the Orisa and Ana, and
why was it a mistake? Why was it a mistake?
I went in and dropped on her without anything ready.
That's the mistake. You see that? So what's the real skill that you need to practice? It's not, oh, I need to stop going aggressively on backline. No. You need to stop going aggressively on backline when you what?
And I have no cooldowns ready,
Right.
so cooldown management.
So playing around your CDs. More aggro with, less aggro without. Okay to spam safe angle when you don't. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that one was very important. All right. What else did you see? Maybe just some details.
I think near the end of the match, I was really like when I was really scared we were going to lose. I was getting tunnel vision a lot, and I lost a lot of my awareness of what was going on.
Right. So just taking some deep breaths, focusing on what you need to do. What were some things that you could have tunnel visioned on instead of just like getting panicky about winning the fight? What were some things that you could have been doing a better job of? Remember your aerial cover?
Right. Just cover in general. Like I was very just out in the open at that point.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't thinking about where my next cover was.
Mm-hmm. Here's another one for you too. Well, actually, no. I think these are good. Is there anything else that we haven't brought up that we think you could be practicing at? I think these three are very good.
I don't think so. Having it listed out like this is really helpful, and that's mainly what I was looking for. Just so I could
Good.
have this open and looking
Good.
at it.
Good. And this is the thing. When you go into those 3 to 4 games with Echo or Ana or Brig, right? Have a list like this, but don't pull everything from the list. Instead, focus on one of those aspects at a time because it's going to need your full attention. For example, playing around your CDs as Echo, unbelievably complicated, right? That's going to take your full attention every single team fight, right? Playing around your CDs over and over. How aggressive can I go when I have my stickies, my shift, right? Playing aerial cover, that's going to take your full attention. Playing your range versus the characters that you're going versus the Widowmakers and then the Tracers and so on. That's going to take your full attention. So if you're trying to practice 2 of these at a time, you're going to fail. You see what I'm saying? So you need to pick one, prioritize one at a time. You can mix it up. You can practice it a couple of days in a row, the same skill. You can practice the same skill a couple of games in a row, or you can mix it up. If you play one game, you're like, okay, I got some practicing on that. Now let's practice the next skill. It doesn't really matter as long as it's fresh, you're giving it full attention, and you're not getting too frustrated if it doesn't go super well. Because remember, the goal is to practice. You can't just snap your fingers and, oh, I'm good. Otherwise, any person that get a coaching session would immediately climb to Grandmaster. You have to actually develop the skill to where you can think about it, do it, think about it, do it. And then all of a sudden, one day you wake up and you're doing it partly, at least, without even thinking about it. That's the goal. All these pro players, they're not better at thinking in the moment than you are. They just do stuff instinctually, automatically, without thinking about it because they've done it so many times. It's like when you learn how to walk, right? You're not thinking about balancing on your feet or your head posture, your back posture. You just walk, right? But as a baby, they have to figure out, like no pun intended, but one step at a time, right? Until it gets to be automatic. And it's the same thing with an Echo player. It should feel natural, but for it to be natural, you have to learn the details first. You have to learn the numbers so that you can forget the numbers. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions?
Last thing I wanted to mention was just like when playing as Echo, all 3 of her weapons shoot at a different speed. Like it's kind of hard to balance. Like the stickies, the primary fire, and the laser. It's like 3 different weapons on one
Yeah.
kit. Do you think I was doing well enough with those?
It's
I
okay
don't.
to
Do you think
me.
my aim needs any help?
For gold, definitely fine. I don't think it was a huge issue. And I will say, if you really wanted to improve on that, then that's where maybe trying out that deathmatch warm up might be helpful because you'll get a little bit better duel practice. Playing, like, for example, if you go into an arcade deathmatch and you're playing versus Roadhogs and Tracers with an instant respawn, you're going to get a lot of reps. You're going to get a lot of reps on the mechanics of those things. Because you're right, it's a hit scan, it's a fast-moving projectile, and it's a slow-moving multi-projectile. It's totally different. But I think if you do that and just play the game more, you'll get the reps. And like I said, I don't think it was a huge weakness of yours either.
Okay. Well, I think that's everything. I think you covered it all. I definitely got something good to go off of here.